division to do it. But when you factor an expression or factor a number, even, it's finding numbers that will multiply together to get the bigger number, right? You've been factoring since 3rd grade, finding the greatest common factor, factor trees, right? Prime factorization. Okay, that's what's happening here.
I thought it was a factor table, not a tree.
Okay, I don't know what that is. All right, so, yes?
I forget what monomial means.
What?
I forget what monomial means.
Monomial?
Yeah.
A monomial is a multiplication or division of numbers and variables.
So it's basically
Yeah,
a
we
fancy
just-
word to say.
It's a term, right? It doesn't have any additions or subtractions in it.
So is it just a fancy way of saying a multiplication term? So like 4
Kind
times
of,
x,
yeah.
4 times x times 5 is a monomial.
Yeah, but that'd be 20x, but yes.
So is it like a subcategory of expressions?
No. Expressions are made up of monomials, right? Each term is a monomial. Don't worry about that vocabulary, really, okay? What they give you here are monomials, multiplications, 4x and 12x. Those are just multiplications of number and letter, right? So the questions here, the first thing is find the greatest common factor. GCF, greatest common factor, which you've been doing since you started doing fraction work, right? When you simplify fractions, you're finding the greatest common factor of the numerator and the denominator. This is the same thing, except now there's going to be letters involved. Okay, so there are 2 ways to do this. One, just look at these 2 numbers and can you figure out the greatest common factor of these 2 numbers?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easy, like this one, 4 and 12. What?
Prime factorization?
You can do it using a prime factorization. That's what they show you here in the
Is
book.
that how you got to 2 times 2?
Yes, that's a prime
That
factorization,
makes sense.
right? That's the way you first learned how to get a greatest common factor, was to do a factor tree and a prime factorization of the number. And then any factors that were in both, you multiply those together, and that's the greatest common factor, okay? Which is kind of like what we're doing here, all right? So 4x is 2 times 2 times x, and 12x is 2 times 2 times 3 times x. That's the prime factorizations of those things. And then you look for the factors that are common to both. And if you multiply, bless you, and if you multiply all them together, that's the greatest common factor, okay? The greatest common factor of these 2 terms is 4x. They can both be divided by 4x and get a whole number answer,
Oh, that makes sense.
Right?
Why do you have to do the full x?
because there's an x in both terms. So then you can factor out, you can pull an x out of both terms. 18a and 20ab. 18 and 20, the number parts, the greatest common factor of those is 2.
What?
2. That's the greatest common factor of 18 and 20.
That's 2 times 2.
Two-
Wait.
No, yeah,
Oh,
but
that's only if you have 2 of the same number?
they have to match in both, right?
How was it 2?
I get it. I get it.
Look, if you had to simplify this fraction, what does that simplify to? 9/10, because you can divide both of these by their greatest common factor, which is 2.
Sarah, see how
Right?
in 4, see how in 4x and 12x, there's 2
There's
common factors?
there's 2 2's in each one, right? That's why 4 is the common factor of these 2 numbers.
I have never been good at simplifying.
Here there's yeah, stand by. So in this one, right, 2 is the greatest common factor of 18 and 20. They both have an A, so A is a common factor, B is not. So the greatest common factor of these 2 is 2A. 2A.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest.
All right, so 12 and 28C. Maggie,
Do you want the common factor?
the greatest common factor.
Well, 12, 50.
Okay, you're going to go prime factorization. Okay, 2 times 3 times 3.
And then
But why is the 3s there?
you would do 7 2 times 2
Okay?
times C.
C, right, perfect. Good. Okay, so the common factor is,
2.
Wait,
Two.
but what are the threes there
Yeah,
for?
why?
because 12 is, that's the prime factor.
Two
2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2
2
times
times 2 is
Yeah.
4. Oh.
4. Yeah, that's right.
4C.
You set me
Yeah,
up,
because
man.
you gotta take the ones that are in common and multiply them together.
Right. I personally, for me, I just say 12 and 28, the biggest number that goes into both of those is 4.
Yeah, me too. That's how I don't think that way.
Oh, I get it. So you can multiply it by 2 and you can multiply it by 3. And
Okay? So the
Oh.
greatest common factor of these two is 4.
Like if it's 375, you just feel like, oh, the greatest common.
Wait, and then you add the greatest common factor of both of them?
Don't act, no, multiply.
So 2 times 2.
Stephanie,
For one, I think it's like 5 or something.
5x.
Yeah.
5x, right? What goes into 25 and 15? The biggest number that goes into 25 and 15 is 5. And they both have x in them, so x is a common factor. So the answer is 5x.
Oh, 1C, 4, 7.
1C is 2.
All right, so
1C is 2.
2 times 21,
What?
2 times
Oh, yeah.
7. Okay, if you factor out 2. Can you go further than that?
Yeah.
Because what's 21?
Out of
What prime factorization of 21?
21 times 2 is. Yes.
21 is 3 times 7.
Okay.
Okay, so what is the greatest common factor? Marcus?
7.
7.
2 and 7 are in both of them, so the answer is 14 mn.
What?
Do these last three. We'll stop at this today. The answer here is 25xy. Yes.
You got the whiteboard up?